Hey, welcome in, everybody. Welcome. JT here on behalf of the EV Mavericks Discord, the dailydoots.com podcast. Joining you live also from the daily general discussion on Reddit. JT, a moderator over there. And we got a pretty special episode today, and we got some very important things that I hope by the end of this, we're all going to learn a little bit about what these two gentlemen are up to. This is Louis Besenberger. He's a project manager at Shutter. Welcome in.
Thanks for having me.
And then we've got Justin Florentine. He's an Ethereum core dev on Besu. So, hey, it's not every day that we get core researchers on here. And we've had Lauren Harkness from Shutter on a few episodes ago. But you guys are on today because let's just jump straight to it. We need to encrypt the mempool, okay? So there's a lot of stuff going on out there with sandwich attacks. I'm here to learn about this. I'm sure there's several fellow Mavericks that are much more in depth on this, but we've also got some newcomers that they maybe don't even know what all this is and why it's important. So let's just jump right into what is MEV. And then what is the mempool? And then why does it need to be encrypted? I'll let you guys take it over from there.
Sure. Let's start with MEV, right? So first of all, thanks for having us. That's a lot of fun. I'm not familiar with the show, so at some point, tell me what a dude is. I want to hear about how it's a big internet out there, and we can't understand it all. So forgive my ignorance, but I'm happy to be here.
I'll give you the 50,000 foot view. There's a whole bunch of Redditors that were on our ETH Trader and then moved to our ETH Finance and then moved to our Ethereum. And once upon a time in our daily general discussion, it's like, you know what? It would be pretty cool if we had some kind of cliff notes for the previous dailies so somebody joining today could come and see what people were talking about and what was important yesterday. And so for our highest, the people who kind of got nominated to be posted, they would earn one doot, which is basically a magic internet point that I would tabulate. And then that's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is just based off of contributions alone on Reddit. The EV Mavericks, 1,324 of these were awarded retroactively to high-standing, good quality community members who contribute to the daily general discussion on Reddit. So just by mere presence and voice, these people were allowed to mint for free. They were retroactively whitelisted for their contribution. So it's the only NFT project that we know of that has ever been retroactively freely minted to its followers. So, and then the Doots scores, we got basically, 2,200 people or so that have been nominated because of their quality comments from the different dailies. And then we have a rich list. So dailydoots.com.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Like I said, the internet's big. It's hard to take it all in. You guys are curating it and helping people find the stuff that matters. So
that's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So go ahead. There you go.
Yeah. How much of your audience run validators at home? I'm curious.
Well, they would never tell you, and if they did, they would lose the keys in a boating accident. But I would say that there is a very large number of people that are at least doing a rocket pool node, if not a full node. The Reddit community for Ethereum was really, really active, several years ago. It's a little less active now, but we still got core contributor OGs that are staking out there and doing the work.
So they all had to make a decision at some point as to whether or not they want to try to extract MEV from their proposals, right? And MEV is, and Luis, jump in here and correct me, when I get something wrong. MEV it's gone through a couple of, what does it stand for, MEV? So it used to be minor extracted value. Now we call it maximal extracted value. I personally call it middleman extractable value. And I actually think that's an important distinction. But your validators needed to, your people that were participating in the validation part of the network have to make a choice. Are they going to build their own blocks based on what they see in the public mempool, or are they going to let somebody else build a block for them and then propose that? Okay, and the value prop that they're looking at is, can the person that builds the block extract additional value out of it? by controlling what order transactions are placed in.
Because
Okay.
it's because some transactions are more valuable than others. Is it because they have more gas involved?
Well, not so much. It's actually more about how you arrange them in the block, who goes first.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And so there's a couple of different types of MEV. Some we think are acceptable. Others we think are toxic. Okay. So there's the idea of front running people's trades. We'll skip right to the toxics. There's the idea of manipulating a pool that you know somebody wants to trade from, letting their trade land maybe less optimally, and then correcting it after it. That's a sandwich attack. There's more helpful types of MEV, like arbitrages, right? So if you see somebody that's trading at a pool and they make it less efficient, maybe you can correct that with another pool over here. And some of those are extractive practices, the toxic stuff. Some of those are beneficial. They help the network optimize prices. Pause, take a sip of coffee, and see if Luis has anything to add.
Yeah, no, I think there's a very good explanation. I would say MEV is this umbrella term, right? That has multiple things underneath. And I think one analogy is good to just look at the real world, right? In real world, traditional finance, you have the same underlying problem that you have to order transactions, and that like if somebody can see your transaction earlier, basically, and has some kind of advantage in terms of speed, that they can potentially extract value from it, right, or front run you. So like the same front running problem exists in the real world, and your transaction is valuable to the chain, or are you breaking up?
I broke up just a little bit, but keep going.
Sorry.
I think you're back.
Okay, cool.
I
Sorry.
like Lewis. He leans in, like the leaning in will keep it from breaking up. I
Hopefully.
I love
I don't
this
know.
tactic.
I'm shouting at the screen. Yeah. So I say like in the real world it's more clearly defined. Like you have front running, which is sort of bad and is kind of banned and illegal in the real world. Or you try to just avoid it via just trusting your exchange. And then you have trading, right? And you have high frequency trading, and that's separate, right? And in general, I think what Justin said is like there's good and bad types, and I think the general easy way to distinguish is kind of like if someone jumps in front of your trade and steals literally your trade away, like the sandwiching, that is something that's kind of bad. And in the real world, that would be even like potentially sort of like illegal, or at least try to regulate that away, right? And everything else kind of like comes after the transaction. That's sort of like leading to better price arbitrage, right? Leading to better prices and just like extracting, just trading in some way, right? That is okay, and that's something that we actually want. And yeah, and the way we see the Encrypt The Mempool is hopefully it only prevents the front running in the sandwich attacks, and it can't even prevent the back running and the stuff that the generalized arbitrage. Yeah, but I think it's a little confusing because in crypto people just say MEV, which is a lot of things underneath, and I think it's simpler if you say there's front running and back running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember GameStop? The whole GameStop fiasco with Citadel and Robinhood?
Yeah, because they didn't they stop trading?
Well, they were front running the trades.
Oh, okay.
So that's a really good example of TradFi having a MEV problem, right? So payment for order flow. Robinhood pays Citadel for the order flow. Citadel has the short position on GameStop. They want to unload their stuff before the other trades come in, right?
Oh,
and so
I see.
if Robinhood is the broker, they have a deal on the side with Citadel, and they can say, "Hey, these trades are about to hit. I'm in charge of actually executing the trades," and then you can pay somebody for order flow, and they can get an advantage there, right?
Because they'll close the deal before other people get a chance to get in there to also make an offer, and then by that time the price has risen slightly. So
you got it. It's intelligence. Whoever has the better intelligence can get the better deal, right?
Yeah.
More accurate, closer to the actual time of execution.
Interesting.
Yeah. So MEV has been a thing that I personally have been upset about it. I think for a long time, and have been trying to work on it. And it's kind of a necessary evil when you have a permissionless network, Like you have a network that you're asking random people to contribute to deciding what the next block is going to be. And we value that. We want that to be true. But in order to have that, you kind of have to concede some control to them as deciding what goes into the block. And it's a very difficult problem to work on. Shutter has been working for quite some time on it with the Gnosis network. And they take an approach. I'll let Luis actually, speak to that. But yeah, tell us a little bit how Gnosis has options for protecting its users from MEV.
Yeah, so that Gnosis, I think, is kind of the first implementation where we said let's build this encrypted mempool, but in a kind of out of protocol fashion, where basically there is a modified, or in the latest Aragon and Nethermind client, they have this option to switch on the encrypted mempool, and then those clients can process encrypted transactions. So that's how it's integrated. And then how it works is on a high level, it's quite simple. It's just like you send transactions to the block producer, or the in this case they don't have PBS, right? So it's just a validator. So you send transactions to the validator encrypted. So the validator doesn't even see what's in the transactions, and they have to commit on this ordering and on the inclusion and on the order of the transactions while they're still encrypted. So kind of like blind, saying, okay, I will include these transactions even though I don't fully know what's in them. And only afterwards, only after they have committed to this order and including it, only then will they get decrypted and executed. So because the validator doesn't know what's in the transactions, it's just very hard to front run, because what would you front run, right? And that's kind of top of the line, is the validator has the ultimate power to extract MEV. If they can't even extract MEV, then nor can anyone else, right? Like no evil MEV searchers nor any other actors.
So has the work, and I pulled up an article, and I'm guessing this is related. Shutter network on Gnosis chain, protecting against MEV attacks, Shutter embedded Gnosis chain. So does this serve as a model then? Because I fast forward from this article in 2024, there's been an EIP that has been introduced at the core level, introducing EIP 8105, the universal enshrined encrypted mempool. Is this kind of an in-game model that you guys have helped create and you're working together on to put into the core protocol?
Yeah, Gnosis is sort of simple because there's no PBS. It's just the validator, and there's no separation between proposer and builder. And also, it's not really like deeply integrated into the protocol. So A, it wouldn't work that way on Ethereum L1 because we have PBS, and B, it's not 100% safe because essentially, if it's not part of the protocol, it's really more like an opt-in where the proposer has to commit, the validator has to commit to this process, but they can actually choose not to, right? So it's kind of just a POC showcase for what it actually should be, and what it actually should be. It should be part of the protocol spec, and what we say like an in-protocol encrypted mempool, and that needs an EIP. Only then can we do this like end-to-end encryption. So user encrypts with this kind of decentralized key. We can talk about where the key comes from in a minute, but like important thing is user encrypts, and it gets decrypted as late as possible, like basically at the very last point before it gets executed. So and Gnosis is a little bit more like out of protocol, but we want to do it like in protocol. That's where the encrypted mempool EIP came from, the 8105. That was Shutter's original proposal. And Lucid team, with which Justin is part of, had also already been working on something on their encrypted mempool proposal as well. And I think they were basically roughly the same overarching concept with some differences. And then at some point we said, okay, why don't we essentially sort of like converge, at least conceptually and design wise. And that's where we're just saying like let's just have any encrypted mempool EIP. It doesn't really matter how exactly it's structured. Yeah.
I like this.
So 8184 is the more recent version.
EIP 8104.
8184. Yeah, it's called Lucid.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's kind of the next evolution of what Luis is just describing, right? So it's just more recent.
I like this. I like this first paragraph here for the normies out there that are struggling to understand. I'm just going to read this real quick. Malicious middleman extracted value has been a problem on Ethereum for years. Traders get sandwiched. NFT mints get front run. Transactions get censored in real time. All of these issues come from the same root cause. By default, your transaction sits visible in the public mempool before it gets included in a block, giving bots and builders a chance to exploit it. At the same time, we have a complicated and fragmented out of protocol transaction supply chain, which doesn't actually address the core issues fully, and it introduces further centralized actors and points of censorship. This last piece here introduces further centralized actors and points of censorship. That kind of resonates in the current climate of alt L1s, if I'm not mistaken, because they could just do it by default. I mean, trying to do all of this stuff and protect the trades and the stuff that's sitting in the mempool is difficult work. So,
it's not just the all L1s either. Like, our public, if you look at the transaction volume that flows through our public mempool and compare it to what's going through private mempools that builders offer, very different. It's kind of tumbleweedy in the public mempool these days. If you are building something and you are selecting your transactions only from the public mempool, you will have a hard time hitting the gas targets for your blocks. And so there's a vicious cycle that happens once you kind of cross a tipping point, and anybody that has decided, no, I will not extract MEV for personal reasons, right? Political reasons, you think that it's bad. Well, you're not going to really have much non-MEVable transaction volume to choose from and to build your blocks.
And is this band-aid fix, right? Where you say is you basically trust someone, and this can be different transaction supply chain actors, to trust them not to front run you, and in exchange for hopefully they do something with the transaction, do some MEV, and pay you back. I think that's the deal, right? People say I use something like Flashbots, Chaos4, MEV blocker, or other kind of private mempools. They promise me not to front run me, A, and B, cool, they can even do something with them. They can, as Justin said, kind of like the payment for order flow. My trade is valuable, right? It changes the price. It has some information in it that's valuable. So they can essentially extract value, sell it, or otherwise make money off of it. And then they promise to pay back X% of that to me, right? But for the user, that's a good deal, right? Because A, you hopefully not getting front run. B, maybe you even get a rebate. Great stuff. But the problem is that's just a trust assumption, right? It's just you're sending it now to someone who has sort of some privileged access to the mempool, and you just have to 100% trust them that they do what I just said, right? They can at any point choose to say, well, fuck you, I'm just gonna extract all of it.
Yeah.
Or even the censorship stuff, right? And they can say, oh no, and we've seen this, right? We've seen builders sort of censoring your transactions. They have this OFAC list, and for a time that was a big thing. It depends on the political climate, right? But for a time we had the Tornado Cash addresses, literally fucking 0x addresses in the OFAC list, which is unprecedented. Yeah. Then the political pressure was on these bigger institutions like builders and relays and others, that they had to abide by the OFAC list. So they put that OFAC list literally in their client and have to sort of then censor your transactions based on that. Yeah, I mean,
did something like that happen on Sonium? Was it that Sony?
Yeah, Sonium was an interesting case. That was actually not so much about sanctions or OFAC, but that was an interesting case where they sort of rolled back. So there was some stuff that they didn't like.
Right,
people sort of extracting money, traders making money that they didn't like in some form. And because it's an L2 and with a centralized sequencer, they were able to at some point just censor transactions and just say, well, we don't like what's happening there. We just block these type of transactions, and then actually people lost money. So the interesting thing about L2 is, in theory, they are censorship resistant because ultimately you can force through a transaction on the L1, right? So if you get censored, you can hopefully, if they have this mechanism, you can sort of force through your transaction on the L1, which is takes a little more time and is costly, but you can.
But you can.
But so that's cool in theory. In practice, for Soneum, it was a pretty interesting case because the timing mattered. It was like a quick some NFT launch, I think, or something, where timing mattered a lot. And so because it's not kind of real-time censorship, so we'd say like ideally you would come as close to real-time censorship resistant as possible, which L2s are not. They're just like they're eventually censorship resistant if you force through on L1. Yeah, and normally maybe it doesn't matter because you can just wait a couple of hours, whatever. But here it really mattered because there was some quick thing to profit off of, and these people lost a lot of money. Those traders, and you can debate about the ethics, was it whatever, but like those people who made money and then they just got censored and got it's taken away. Yeah.
How has this most recent EIP 8184 been received by the Ethereum Foundation and the other researchers? Is it gaining a lot of popularity, do you feel?
Yeah. I think you have this in general, and maybe my quick view, and let Justin speak as well. But maybe you have this. I would say you have this in general, sort of like agreement from everyone. Oh, not even agreement, but I would say in general, very positive. People really like the idea of the encrypted mempool. So there's very few people who would say no, we don't want it. And the concerns are more about implementation complexity and trust assumptions and roadmap. But the long story short is it got the EIP got not voted in for the headliner in this Glamsterdam hard fork. So none were not even frame transactions was chosen, but there was sort of like one goal of ours to get into that EIP, which didn't work. So kind of postponed. But on the other side, the EF released the Strawman roadmap. And on the Strawman roadmap, they actually list encrypted mempools for inclusion in the iStar hard fork in 2027.
Fantastic.
So that's a really positive sign from the EF. Yeah.
So, and I want to make sure I didn't mean to frame that question as to whether they like it or not. It seems like everybody agrees we need to do it, but the disagreement is it's awfully hard to do. Like it's hard to. It seems like it's pretty foundationally difficult to change the protocol.
I mean that's a point worth dwelling on, and it's one of the things that I'm more proud of in our work with this. Like if you think about what we're proposing to do, it's very hard to find examples in history where a middleman can't extract value from trades that they are brokering. Any type of exchange since we started exchanging things has had people trying to find a way to profit from doing the exchange itself.
The edge cases, yep.
Yeah, I mean, and there's tons of examples of that in the real world. Like, I mean, look at the service fees that get charged when you're doing stuff on top of tickets. Like, look at timing games that get played with stuff. Look at floats.
Listen, I was an elementary school music teacher for 18 years. If you put 5-year-olds in a classroom and tell them that there's a cookie on the playground, somebody's going to cheat and figure out how to get there first. Whether it's distracting other kids or like just outright running faster or whatever, or tripping people. I mean, it's just kind of like everybody wants to feel out the edges of how they can do some nefarious things, And
I'm not proposing that, Lucid is a perfect fix for any of this. There will still be that type of thing. But, we can at least convey to the users that, hey, you're going to make a trade, you're going to secure it yourself. And then it's not going to be revealed until the person that you're transacting it with is going to deal with it. Like, I think that relationship, like Ethereum, as the broker of that relationship, has a duty to its users to try as hard as possible to kind of make that a sacred relationship and not be an intermediary.
Right.
So it's. Go ahead.
I love this this kindergarten running to the cookie, and I think all of that should be fine, right? Like tripping the other children, kind of, right? As long as it's a level playing field, right? As long as all the children sort of have the same standing with the teacher, whereas what's happening right now is more like some children have like some direct line of communication with the teacher, and they ask the teacher, and they get the cookie just because they sort of like
because the teacher has the key to the door.
Yeah. Love that analogy.
I like the analogy. Good. Well, I want to make sure that we allow time to talk about like funding what you guys are doing. I'm going to bring up this website. I've already donated to this cause. If you go to giveth.io, Encrypt The Mempool, stopping toxic mev and censorship is currently getting contributions. Yesterday I think there was only like 90 contributors yesterday. Now we're at 102. I donated $10. I'm going to go ahead and just donate some more while I'm at it. And I want to make sure that we get this out there, that you guys can get in on this before this funding round closes, because I think just like anything else, we got to pay these researchers and get these EIPs pushed up the ladder, and they're doing the work for it right now. So I urge everybody to log in and see what you can do. I think it's matching $1 to $9, maybe $1 to $9 or something like that.
Hey, if we could save Kelp DAO, I think we can encrypt the mempool, right?
Amen. I like it. I'm going to get logged in on another screen here. But yeah, talk about...
I don't know too much about the specifics of the Giveth program. I don't know if you do, Luis.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the new revival of the DAO, right? So Griff from Giveth, or from the DAO revived, or they still have money left over from the DAO, right? From the DAO hack back in the day.
Oh.
Which they which that's money that there's really like nobody claimed this, right? And there's like that's like the money they hacked back from whatever, like that's a crazy story.
The white hat, yeah.
Yep, exactly, yeah. And that they want to experiment with this, and this is the first little experiment where they think they staked this money, and then from the proceeds from the DAO hack, from the interest on the proceeds, they do these funding experiments, and this is like the first one, yeah. So and essentially we just said Encrypt The Mempool is a project there that you can donate to, and we will, as we said before, it is really not that easy, right? It needs more research. I think it needs it needs conceptual work to. So I think one big criticism that's really valid is that it currently, if you build it right now, it would be a lot better than the public mempool. So it would just improve on the public mempool and hopefully make the public mempool sort of viable again. But currently, as it stands, in pure trading kind of terms and like what you would get out of it, it might not be competitive with the private mempools that have these trust assumptions, and that you still might get a better price if you trust someone to get you a rebate and stuff like this. So I think some of the work that we need to do is make it both fair and sort of this level playing field, but also get the sort of the trading efficiency and the rebate stuff up to the same level as people are used to with the private mempools. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to sign this transaction on my Grid Plus Lattice 1, not a sponsor. It's another $5. So personally, I'm up to $15.26, which is definitely more than a cheeseburger to this great effort. And I hope that you all log in and do the same. Let's try to push them over let's get them elite. We should have no problem getting over the $15,000 limit. So, or not limit, but the goal. That's the goal I have in my head. You guys deserve so much more than that. Maybe we'll get a whale out there.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
1,000. Also, you mean the matching? Yeah. Currently, I think it's at $1,000. Yeah, but yeah, with the matching.
Okay, so yeah, let's go look here. Look, I'm a giver. Heck yeah, I'm a giver. Let's go ahead and X the crap out of that. Get it going. Post it. And cool. I also shared this in our Ethereum daily general discussion, and I definitely urge all the Mavericks that are out there to jump on this and do some things. And we've done some stuff with Octant before, and so Giveth is such a great. I don't know. The Mavericks are really exemplary of public goods funding. It's a big pride point for us. A lot of people do. Do you know the
public goods right now? It's real tough out there for public goods.
It's hard, man. Do you know the Astus Relay team? They're Mavericks. They do some stuff. Anyway, we help fund the Astus Relay. Don't exactly ask me what they do, but I was privileged enough to sit between Austin and the other gentleman at a conference, and my IQ went up 3 points just by being between them. It was
That's the great thing about
Okay.
Ethereum, man. You're always learning.
yeah. Well,
Run into a lot of smart people.
we got a bit more time here. Is there anything else that you want to do with today's call?
I can
Go ahead.
very briefly, if it works, I can do a little live demo of our MEV simulator that we
Let's
just
do
built.
it.
That works.
Yeah, let me
But yeah,
jump over to
so I
Zoom.
share in
So
the
you could share on Zoom if you want.
on Zoom. Okay.
Yeah, shout out Yannick for this one. Yannick Loon, one of the developers over working on our team. He's kind of my technical counterpart from the Shutter side. He put this bad boy together. And once Luis gets it up there, you'll see it's kind of demonstrate, what it would look like if you had two people kind of making the same trades, and one of them decides to use an encrypted mempool and the other one doesn't. And you can see kind of over time how the little bitty abuses add up over your trading career.
I can't share my screen on the. It says disabled.
Oh yeah, host might need to grant permission for that.
Mm-hmm. Let me see how to do that. I'm going to make you the host. How about that? Luis, you're the host. You should be able to do that.
Yeah, while he's getting that set up, appreciate the funding shout out, but we also need people's time. Like, we need people's labor. So if this is a project that you want to work on, if you want to help testing on it, if you want to help contribute code, if you want to kick around ideas, if you want to help with marketing, like if you want to, put together some cool messaging and reach out to your followers, all those types of things will really help.
You should ask in the daily general discussion on Reddit, because we have some heavy hitter OGs that they may have some ideas for you. I'm gonna give a shout out to Harog. He's the number one person on our Doots list, and just a fantastic. I mean, there's so many Mavericks that if you just bring it in there every other day or whatever, talk about the need for the lift that you want, and I'm sure you'll get some response.
That's great.
Can you see the?
I can see. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Just briefly, so this is, as I just said, what my colleague Yannick built, and this is just a very bare bones of let's try to simulate what happens in the mempool, depending on, and in a very simple sort of Uniswap scenario here, what happens if you either use a public mempool right now where you get front run, or if you use an encrypted mempool where your transaction is hidden, so essentially you're not getting front run, and it's just like basically trades against Uniswap, and then other people just exploit. There's a front runner bot that just exploits everyone. So that's this first very simple scenario called Uniswap v2 sandwich attack. We load that in, and then in the background it's running this whole Anvil chain simulation, and we can start it, and then we see the spot price on top.
Wow.
On the left you see all the transactions, right, just coming in. On the top you see the price developing of the asset, and down below you see the actor net worth of the private trader and the public trader, and you see it sort of like slowly moving apart, right? Because essentially the private trader, let me pause. What we're saying is basically over time all this little being front run sort of makes you worse off, right? And the public trader gets off a little bit worse than the private trader. Obviously, this is again just a very high level model. But the idea is here we build sort of this platform and this tool where we can then simulate different scenarios. So you can select this scenario, but you can also load in your own config, which means you can essentially define what these actors are doing. And it could be arbitrarily complex, right? And it could now mean like, let's use like agentic LLM trading to like see what the other people are doing, or we could add these complexities we talked before, like this back running sort of rebates and things like this. So that's the idea, that we have a platform that people can build on top, open source platform that everyone can add their modules into it essentially.
So let's talk about, actually, can you keep sharing? I want to talk about a little bit about what goes into the gap there, and maybe we can give the audience a pretty concrete example. So y'all have made trades before, right? And you've got there's that little number at the bottom that you got to think about called slippage, right? And you're like, all right, well, how much slippage am I going to tolerate on this trade? I mean, do I really want this trade really bad? Or am I like, just, you know what, nobody cares about this. I'll set it really low and wait. And when it hits, it hits. Like, fine, right? That number is a really critical piece of information for other people out there. And when I say out there, I mean out in the mempool where your trades are. Okay, so when your transaction goes out into the mempool, other people can see it before it gets included in the block, and they can look at it and they can be like, "Oh, JT's willing to take 4% slippage on this trade. Interesting." Well, if it executes now, he's really only looking at 1% slippage. So his trade will go through, and then there's 3% of that slippage that he was willing to pay that he doesn't have to pay.
I'll be damned.
Well, that'd be good for him. So what I'm going to do, because I want it to be good for me, is I want to actually buy that asset before his trade goes through, drive the price up a little bit so now he's paying 4% in slippage. Okay?
I'll be damned.
Let his trade go through and then dump what I bought on the back end. So I know you're willing to tolerate 4% slippage. I drive the price up a little bit less than that. Your trade goes through. I dump my money back into the pool. And now you've overpaid by 3%. I pocketed the difference.
And they're doing this with bots. So it could be.
Oh, yeah. It's totally automated.
So it's at volume, too. And these people are able to make a shitload of money.
Exactly. And so that gap between those two lines, what you're seeing there in that example, is us preventing that from happening by concealing the information, by preventing the predator from seeing how much the prey is willing to concede. They never extract it.
Because then it's just like playing lawn darts in the dark. You're just guessing that you might.
Yeah, and they had techniques for doing that as well, but they're not nearly as profitable as just literally being able to see what you're willing to tolerate. Yeah. You know, it's like negotiating and telling somebody how much you're actually willing to pay first.
So the goal is to tighten those lines together to almost nothing.
Yeah, or make the public. So here's public versus private, right? That's kind of the situation today. What we want to get to is that the public mempool is encrypted. So then we don't have public versus private, but we just say like we have the same, as close to the same benefits of these private mempools that we have today in the public mempool, because it is encrypted, and it is not in the hands of a single actor to decide whether to front run or not. But basically, we have this sort of decentralized mechanism of encryption, decryption. Then just like bring back the public mempool by encrypting it, and then we have the best of both worlds, ideally, right? As an aspirational goal.
Excellent, thank you, fantastic. Any parting thoughts? Where can we find you? Where do you want people to go?
If you follow the Ethereum calendar, you'll see working group calls that are scheduled every 2 weeks. There are some for people that are interested in marketing, and there's other for people that are interested in tech. So if you have technical solutions, technical concerns, please bring them to me. You can find me at Robocop's Gone Mad on most socials. I'm not really on Twitter all that much. I'm on Farcaster. I'm on Reddit, et cetera, et cetera. Feel free to reach out to me directly. There is a Encrypt The Mempool discussion group on the ETH R&D server. So you'll see notifications there of how to get involved in the different calls that we run for the different working groups. You can reach out to some of the engineers directly, some of the marketing people, etc. Luis.
Yeah, I think that was very comprehensive. Maybe just one thing to add is our PrimeAv collaboration. So PrimeAv are building this out of protocol. It's called MEV commit. So it's a sidecar kind of thing that builders can run. And there we also have an integration similar to Gnosis Chain a little bit, where we are bringing this encrypted mempool to the PrimeAv MEV commit builder and proposer commitment infrastructure. That's another path, hopefully, to get to this encryption level before 2027 or end of 2027, when we hopefully can get it into the protocol. Yeah, but otherwise, I think Justin very comprehensive. What Justin said before, I think is very, very true. There's like, we need people to care about this and to contribute and to say like, to build stuff and to research and to figure out how to solve the remaining problems. Kind of the big one. And then those are the ETH, R&D, Discord, and these working groups. I think are the best place.
And I think another thing that I want to call out too is it's not just a technical problem. Like this is a social problem. Like you got to convince people that this is important. You got to convince people that are already making money doing this that maybe a new paradigm is on its way and they're going to have to find another way to do stuff. It's very difficult to ask people to lose money. And there's no two ways about it. People are extracting value right now and we're trying to prevent that. So it's, not popular with the people that are going to be making that money. So, if you can come up with ways to explain this to people, if you have social influence, if you, can tell a good story, we need help with all that stuff too. Ethereum is not a purely technical enterprise. There's lots of people out here that don't have to have genius level CS skills and can still contribute to getting things done because Ethereum's actually made of people.
Yeah.
So one thing I forgot to mention is that there are existing regulations in place in TradFi that prevent this sort of thing. I think Luis kind of alluded to it earlier, right? And because we're decentralized and because we're permissionless, we don't actually have that. And people have different opinions on how much we want to draw in TradFi to Ethereum, but this is a thing that they are reluctant to participate in, right? Like if you tell somebody who's a massive bank that somebody running a validator in their basement might be the person that gets to decide what transactions go into what block when their big trade hits, and they won't know because it's cryptographically random. That's going to give them pause about participating in the network. So there is an argument that this is a protocol way to provide things that TradFi expects to be provided legislatively and regulatorily. And if we don't want to be regulated, we got to provide that same level of confidence via the crypto and via the protocol.
Yeah, banks don't like competition from Bob and Alice.
No, and it's like this thing where we can actually be better than TradFi, right? Like it's something that the real world hasn't figured out. They just have slapped some regulation on top of it. They have the same issue with this. And if you're familiar with these like fiber cable length things where you have co-location in this exchange data centers, right? Where you measure out the same distance on the fiber optic cable so that they all have the same speed and access to it. But it's insane how much money they spend on just this latency problem and just the payment for order flow stuff. Like they haven't figured it out, right? So this is something where Ethereum can have this edge, ultimately make the point that that is actually better than TradFi trading. Yeah.
You're correct. It's the speed of light. Even through a fiber optic cable, it does matter. Every foot, matters, and they fight for that every crumb. It's insane.
Yep.
Okay, I love it. Well, once again, thank you so much, Luis Besenberger, project manager at Shutter, Justin Florentine, Ethereum core dev on Besu, and we really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out today and getting the schedules all worked around. Thank you so much, and please, I'm asking everybody to come and match my energy if you can. I gave $15 across 2 transactions on Giveth.io. You can find the project Encrypt The Mempool, stopping toxic MEV and censorship. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining today. On behalf of the EV Mavericks, my name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from Kansas City. Thank you again.
Thank you so much
Thanks, JT. Thanks, Mavericks.
Cool session.